Hello there. Welcome back to our Around the Grid challenge. Currently, we are with Haas, and so far, the first 8 races have been fairly dominant for us. That is, we are a good 200 points clear of Red Bull. Both Hamilton and Alonso are very much clear of both Verstappen and Leclerc. And all in all, the only championship we are tragic in is the pit stop championship. So everything is looking good. Now, next up, we're going to be heading into Canada in 11 days. That shouldn't be too much of an issue. We do have some problems currently with the fact that we are missing a extra chassis, kind of same sense that Williams is currently. But I think we'll be fine. We do need to get manufacturing back onto, well, the good side, because as you can see, we don't really have any spares at the moment. And that is, again, one of the main problems that you'll be having with Haas, the fact that you'll very much be lacking in components and extra parts, so that is all okay. So currently we're going to continue developing the car. We'll have to see just how far we develop it though. We're going to be a little bit strategic because I think that if we have Alonso and Hamilton in the car next year, if I can, I'm going to try and renew them for Haas before we leave. So if they're in the car next year and we build an absolute monster, we might struggle a little bit to, well, get things going. But currently, it does look like Williams is going to be our next destination, but both McLaren and Aston Martin are struggling to score points as well. Alpine is actually doing decent here. So, yeah, we'll have to see exactly where we do end up. But now that we're just going to continue what we have been doing, which is, again, just winning races. Suspension design is completed, and I do believe this one is pretty sizable upgrade. So we'd like to get this one made when we can. But again, right at the moment, our car is dominant enough that we aren't actually stressed for, well, making parts, if you will. And I'm just going to check here. Because I think we're still in a position where we could get a little bit extra performance out of this. Because as you can see, we're getting a lot of brake cooling. Once we're about 60%, we don't actually need much more brake cooling. So what we could do is go for another suspension like this, which would give us even more top speed, more cornering, all of that. So we're going to go ahead and do that. That's going to be our final suspension design here. Now, there were some questions over the past couple of videos of what I mean by development becoming easy after the regulation change. The main reason why I'm saying that development becomes a lot easier after regulation change is because the AI is pretty bad at development. There's no way around that. The AI can have a car that should, on paper, be way better than yours, but they don't extract the maximum performance out of the car, which is a bit unfortunate. But it is also, unfortunately, just how the game is currently set up. The AI just will not get every ounce of performance out of a car. So that is a little bit problematic, but there's nothing I can do with it. Honestly, we don't need to make the chassis right away, so we're going to allow it to make one more development chance before we make the next one. But yeah, the AI doesn't extract the maximum performance out of the car. The best way I can describe this is with the Red Bull, for instance. So performance-wise, we are ahead of them. It's that simple. But they have way high engine cooling, they have way high brake cooling, they have way high dirty air tolerance. Now, these three stats really start having diminishing returns once you hit about 60%. Like if you're about 60%, you'll usually be very, very happy with the situation. You'll usually be fine on car parts. So if you're struggling with winning, you can sacrifice some brake cooling, you can sacrifice some engine cooling, you can in particular sacrifice dirty air cooling to get more pace and performance out of the car. And also the AI doesn't really shed extra weight. So that's why I'm saying that even if the AI has a better car on paper, they just aren't capable of extracting that performance compared to the player. So it is a shame because it would really add to the longevity of these games if the AI was good. But I hope that is going to be a setting that we can toggle in this year's game. That would actually be quite amazing. I would be very, very happy with that. So front wings have been made. We can go ahead and also make a suspension now. Get that upgrade up and running. We'll just go ahead and make 3 of them for now. It's going to take us a month. So again, as you can imagine here, the manufacturing is the biggest issue at the moment. And honestly, slowing down the sign so we can upgrade the factory. I think we did start that last time. No, we did not. Slowing down development just so we can save up enough money to upgrade the factory would actually be beneficial at this stage. So we might end up doing that as well. But yeah, we're going to head into Canada. We'll see how that goes. I think it's going to go fairly straightforward and simple. We'll speed through, if you will. And the board should have high confidence. Development updates. One more point of overtaking for Alonso. But yeah, pit training, I'll get this set up and we'll get prepared for the Canadian GP. So the Canadian GP could potentially be one that could be a little bit interesting here because we are going to be starting on the dries. We're going to very quickly go to inters, then wets, inters again, wets, and potentially inters to the end of the race. Now Canada has a very, very short pit line, or pit line? Very short pit stop time. That's proper English. But yeah, it's a very short pit stop time, which should make this a fairly entertaining race just because of the fact that there is going to be a lot of high switches. So with that in mind, I don't think we really need to set up much of a strategy here. Just make sure that both cars go onto a soft tire, go full attack from the get-go, and that's really all that we're going to be caring about. Now, we qualified 1 and 2 again, which shouldn't come as a big surprise. We qualified about 3/10 ahead of 3rd place. So we still have a fairly sizable advantage in that regard. But yeah, luckily it seems like everyone is on the Red Bull tire. That is good. And we're just going to do what we usually do here in order to avoid incident. But yeah, Show in 3rd, Paris in 5th, we have Russell in 4th, and Stroll. Not the best of qualifiers for the Red Bull. 7th and 9th is where they ended up starting. But yeah, looks like we are getting a bit of a shake-up here. The Mercedes has had a very, very bad time around here. But at the moment, I think we'll be fine. As you can see, it's 3 minutes until it starts to properly rain. So we'll speed along until that moment. And you can already see here that we do have a fairly sizable advantage. We've already almost broken DRS. And this is a fairly short track to begin with. Everyone should be going full attack. So everyone is pushing the cars to the absolute limit here. And as such, getting this sort of advantage is pretty important. I think we can do one more lap here. Yeah, we're going to do one more lap. And we're just going to double stack. It's just what we are going to have to do, most likely. We'll have to see how much water is on the track by the time we get around to the pits again. But by looks of this, we might actually be okay with sending one car in now. Let's see, over the lap, you basically gain a half a millimeter of water on the track. So I think what we're actually going to do is just send both cars around again. We are going to do the double stack. It's just how things are going to have to be. Now, we don't really have the gap to show to make the double stack work perfectly. But you can see Show, Perez, they're both going to have to do the same thing. And I do believe Alonso won't really have any big problems with getting an overtake done here. So I think it's fine. Also, as you can see, Russell and Piastri, you can see just how much it has eaten his inters a bit earlier than everyone else. So yeah, it's better to stay out longer, be able to run the inters on attack, and get a couple of overtakings done. Although you see everyone now into the pits, with the exception of Magnussen. So 3.5 seconds for basically both of them. Alonso is losing out massively here, as he had to wait for his place in the train. So yeah, maybe would have been better to allow him to run one more, because currently he is 14 seconds behind Hamilton. So he lost a lot of time just waiting, basically, and that is a bit unfortunate. But I think we can get that time back. We're going to keep him working Alonso forwards. Hamilton is just doing its own thing. Nothing really to interfere with there. But with Alonso, we are going to have to do a little bit of work there to get him back up into a podium place. So we haven't actually been able to get any overtaking done with Alonso because, as mentioned earlier, with what we showcased, our car has terrible levels of what's it called? terrible levels of dirty air. And dirty air, what's it called? SS? Basically dirty air following. Our car is pretty bad at that. And that does lead us a bit of a problem. Now, the rain is going to start basically pouring down in 10 seconds. So we are going to be pitting pretty much at the end of this. And we are probably going to suffer in the pits again to some degree. But it's actually going up a little bit slower than anticipated. So I just want to have a quick look here. We are not going to be... We're not going to be going on the wets here, I'm pretty sure. Might be a little bit of a wet period here. But I don't see us going on the wets at all. Now, degradation is pretty fair in the sense that we can probably make it till the end if we really want to. But I don't know if this is going to be a wet period or not. That's going to be a little bit of an issue. Now, we are going to keep on working Alonso. These tires go up to 105 degrees, so we actually have plenty of space to mess around with. But you can see here with Hamilton now having 15 seconds to the back of the to second place, just how much of a blunder it was to just not allow Alonso another lap before he pitted. So that is unfortunate, but it is what we've done. And we'll just have to try and move him forwards as best as we can before we do end up pitting again, probably a little bit later in the race. So we have moved basically to halfway point of the race. Alonso's back up to 5th place. So we've gotten a lot of work done. But we also have a problem here now with the dry line appearing, 0.8 millimeters. Now, it's probably not going to go much lower than this before we get a bit of rain again. But it is causing a little bit of problems for us. That's the best way I can describe it, as we can expect a little bit of a higher degradation. Now, we are most likely going to need to pit again. That's just the way of things. Now, the rest of the grid probably will not need to pit. We could try and conserve the tires from this point. But I think Alonso will be fine as long as he can get the overtakes done within a reasonable amount of time. And then push what little tire he has left to create a little bit of a gap. So that's going to be kind of the hope here. But even that is going to be difficult to pull off. So Alonso might be in a bit of trouble. We might just have to run the tires completely into the ground. Provided, of course, we don't go to the wets for a lap or two. But yeah, we'll have to see exactly how wet it becomes. Currently, it's just barely going to be wet for 5-6 laps here. So while it could benefit us, of course, to switch tire, we'll have to see a little bit what the others do as well. Because as you can see, right now, Alonso is actually struggling because we've used so much tire to catch up to Russell, Stroll, Norris, and, well, overtake them. So it is a bit of a problem. We'll have to see how we deal with it. Could be that we have overextended a little bit too much here. And that our best choice might be actually to get Alonso into the pits now and start working him a little bit forwards. But it's going to be about 10 laps until we start seeing potentially wet tires, level of rain. And maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to take advantage of that to get the 2 pit stops that we need, as Alonso is now being attacked by Verstappen. So, yeah, in a bit of trouble here. So the way that I see it here now with Alonso is that we have 2 ways we can play this gamble. We can jump in, go on to inters, and try and move our way back up the grid order. Now, if we take a look at the pit stop time here, 18 seconds. So we take this plus 18 seconds, which would put us around the 52-second mark, so behind show. We might be able to get the overtakes done, but it's still going to be fairly difficult. So the question then becomes, do we do the double pit stop into wet tires? And as you can see, that's just not going to happen. So we should have gambled earlier, but I think the only way we get anything more out of this race at this point is going to be to jump into the pits and try and get overtaking done. Now, confidence isn't very high at the moment, but I think we can, with fresh inters, potentially get some overtaking done. We have recharged. We, again, in hindsight, should have jumped in earlier. We didn't. It's going to punish us a little bit, but now we have fresh tires. We can run full attack. We can use energy, get overtaking done, get a little bit more confidence, and basically max out Alonso's stats. That too is going to hopefully work, but we'll see if we can move him forwards here, up into at least 7th position. But, of course, we'd love to catch the other train as well. 15 laps to go. We're going to be attacking. Let's see if it pays off. So, It took Alonso 5 laps to clear the cars in front. There's now a 10-second gap up to Leclerc. We do need to recharge a little bit, but potentially this does allow us to just go for this attack a little bit better. Now, again, I did think that we're going to have a short period of wets. Did not happen. So, again, the forecast there was a little bit, did a little bit of trolling. But even with that in mind here, we'll have to see what we can do. We did run recharge for the last lap, which is going to cut into our lap times. Hamilton here should be fine. We could just turn him down to standard to be on the absolute safe side. But I want to see the lap times now for Alonso. And is it going to be a potentially dry... Yeah, potentially we're going to have a dry few laps here. So, could be that we made even more of a mistake. But last lap there, we gained 1.7 seconds, or 1.6 really, up to Norris. And with that, we'll be able to at least launch some sort of attack on the 5-man here before the end. But of course, if we're going to have another pit stop, then we could definitely benefit from that, because Verstappen and Leclerc is running together. Unfortunately, no other of the top 3 here does have the teammate with them. But we could definitely benefit from that, as we're probably going to be a bit quicker than them. And Verstappen actually jumps in right now. What did he get onto? A dry tire. So they did pit Verstappen a little bit cheekily there, I might add. And I think we might do the same here. I think we have to jump in and get onto the soft tire. So that is exactly what we are going to do. And I think everyone else is going to go into the pits as well here. Not Russell and Leclerc. But we are going to do it, and we'll have to see exactly how this is going to work out with overtaking. Could probably have stayed out for another lap here. I also had a bit of a slower stop, which of course is going to hurt us. Question now is, how many cars can we jump with this pit stop? As we see, a bunch of cars actually peel in. Russell and Leclerc both come out ahead of us. That wouldn't have changed even if we didn't have that pit stop error. But Hamilton is just going to stay out on the inters here. Well, honestly, we should just pit him for the soft tire. There's nothing that really stops us. I've just been focusing a little bit too much on Alonso. But yeah, fastest lap now. Alonso did get it set, 14.4. But yeah, it's going to be difficult, I think, to launch any more attacks. Unfortunately, the Red Bull double stop dilemma did not really hamper them in any way, shape, or form. Just 1 lap to go here. Well, 1.5 laps. And I don't think we're going to be able to close in enough really to make a difference here. I really should have recharged Alonso, to be fair. Sorry, Hamilton, to be fair, so we could have gotten a fastest lap. And we've even had an incident here. And considering we've had a full wet race, that's kind of impressive in its own right. Alonso, Piastri takes out the Williams. Sorry that I'm a little bit scattermind today. It's been a long week. So I'm slightly tired. Yeah, final lap here. We are pushing. Let's see what we can do. Alonso is within attack distance, but can he get anyone to the line here? Probably not. But he did get fastest lap for the time being, so we did recover somewhat. But yeah, we definitely should just put him onto the inters earlier. It's easier to say at the end though, but it is what it is. So first race here, Alonso loses out a few points, but Norris ends up second, Stroll ends up third. Then we have the Red Bulls and Russell, as well as Gasly, Albon, and Sainz. So Aston here scoring some good points, because they didn't have too many points before this race, just 5. That kind of does propel them up to Alpine levels. But yeah, a very good result here for Stroll at his home GP. Our Drivers' Championship then, we're still extending Hamilton over Alonso. That shouldn't come as a big surprise. But yeah, I definitely did bungle that double stop. We got way too held up in the pits there. Because as I mentioned, there was 14 seconds behind Hamilton and Alonso once they exited the pits. Neither had the pit stop error, so that did kind of did kind of hurt, I'll be honest. I think we'll continue developing the side pods a little bit more as well, just to be on the safe side, get a little bit more airflow, middle, cooling, drag reduction. To be fair, we'll do it like this, focus on cooling and drag reduction. That's cornering is what we'll be doing it once we've actually finished all of this. Rear wing has been manufactured as well. And if we take a look here, rear wing is actually kind of what we are lacking. And we'll be able to do a fairly sizable upgrade here of the rear wing on both cars. So that is nice. Front wing replacement has been installed on both cars, which means we're going to have to manufacture some new ones. We might as well just get that going. And do we have any more car parts that have been damaged? No, just a couple of front wings and the rear wing. I think we can be happy with that. But yeah, we're just going to speed right along to Austria. Let's see how we perform there. Over the next couple of races, things went as expected, with a 1-2 in both the sprint and the race in Austria. Red Bulls had a bit of a terrible weekend, while the Williams stepped up with Wilson scoring a 6th place finish. In Silverstone, Hamilton had a bit of trouble, as he had a few lockups that put him towards the back of the grid, but he did fight back to 2nd place with ease. And for the Red Bulls, it was another bad weekend. So I've been thinking a little bit about what we want to do in terms of our CFD time. And I've decided the underfloor isn't a terrible idea to invest it into, as we can get a lot more top speed from that. We can also get cornering, and generally just get everything that we kind of are needing to some degree. So we are going to focus on just that, making a new underfloor, which will give us a huge amount of top speed and also retain the cornering that we have with slight improvements. But again, this is a CFD underfloor, so we're going to be able to do another iteration that is going to be most likely slightly better than this one. So that is exactly what we are going to be doing. We're going to be going ahead and rush this. Shouldn't be a big deal. Get done as quickly as possible. And we do have a little bit of money currently stashed away, luckily enough. And we've also gone ahead and upgraded our factory. Now, the new chassis design here is come in. So we're going to be making the final edition of the chassis for, I think, this season. That shouldn't come as a big surprise. We are going to go full on performance, and it's going to give us a ton more top speed. If you consider the fact that we're also getting about the same amount of top speed from the underfloor, probably going to get a little bit more. The underfloor and the chassis together probably will give us around 2 kph. We'll probably be able to mitigate these losses, and even then we get a very, very slight increase in engine cooling. So I'm happy with this. It's going to be a pretty sizable upgrade for our team. And we might actually get into a point here, as I mentioned, where we just have to stop designing, because the car already is a bit of a rocket ship. But we'll see. We're going to go ahead and get Hungary and Belgium done, and then we'll do a bit of a summary on how we're actually doing. So far it is looking good. We do have the school implementation for staff, which is fine. We had a chance to get a design center improvement that I refused because we wouldn't get the extra 2 slots. And again, the underfloor here was finished designing, which is why we're making a new one with CFD. Now, we have a bit of a problem here with car parts, and that shouldn't come as a big surprise. We're lacking side pods, and we're lacking underfloor, interestingly enough, for car 2 going into the next race. So we are still manufacturing what we can, side pods, underfloor. It'll be ready for the race itself. But we are in a bit of a position where we are struggling at the moment to get enough car parts to keep things going. Now already you can see that Red Bull has kind of stagnated. We're almost at 500 points. We did have that, the not so great performance in Canada, but we've been 1-2ing the last 2 races. Yeah, Norris has now stepped up. He's running 3rd in the championship. Red Bulls just have not had a good time lately. And also, just a quick mention here, we have actually started upgrading the factory. It is going to take us another 3 months, but at the end of the season, at least we should have enough car parts to, have some smooth sailing. We're going to jump directly into the next race here, which will be Hungary. And I don't think we really have any designs here that will be upgrades, but if they are, we'll show you. If they're just the basic development upgrades to get expertise up, we'll just keep them kind of under wraps. So I'll be showing any upgrades that we do end up making and putting on the car. So unfortunately, we will not be having Hamilton next season in Haas. He has announced that he's going to retire from driving. He's enjoyed his time. Going to be an emotional 4 months before he officially retires. Want to say thank you for your support and encouragement during my career. Well, it's just been, what, 7 months so far, so you're welcome, I guess. But yeah, we're going to give him that 8th title and probably a few more race wins, pole positions, podiums, points. Going to break that 5,000 barrier for sure, probably within the next couple of races. And get a few, better stats there. So, no big deal on that. We're also going to get the pit crew going here. We are struggling a little bit right now with them being tired, but I think it will be fine. We just had another suspension design finish, and this is going to be the final one. It's going to give us a little bit top speed, a lot of low and medium speed cornering ability. We're losing a little bit of brake cooling, but honestly, that isn't a big deal. It's going to be the final edition of suspension, as I mentioned, and we can't actually start a new project because we don't really have money for it. But the only thing that I really would like to put a little bit of work into at this point is probably front wing, rear wing, and side pods. So we'll have to see if we can actually do anything there that would benefit the team. But as I mentioned, we have quite a dominating performance, or dominating position rather, at this point. So I don't really feel the need to do any weird stuff here. Now we are going to be making 2 underfloors, so I'm going to go ahead and make 1 more in case we need one at Belgium. But that should be it for, well, kind of everything here. We only have 600,000 in the bank, which is a bit of a problem. So we have a regulation change here that could be very detrimental to us going into next year. So we're going to go ahead and vote against this. Now, remember, we do take the worst team that we haven't played with yet when we do pick a new team. And what this regulation change does is give more CFD time to the teams that finish first. And, well, we'd like to keep the increased CFD and win total time for the teams lower down the bracket. So that is kind of what we're going to be voting for. Hopefully that will go through, but if it doesn't, it's not the end of the world. But at the same time, it would be nice to just have it. Lewis Hamilton to retire from Formula 1. Driver retiring press tax. I think something went wrong here, but yeah, we did get a message early about Hamilton retiring, so that is what it is. We'll just have to deal with it. Yeah, so far this season has gone very well. Let's see if the last 2 races before the summer break go the same way. The Alfa Romeos as well as Ferrari look good in Hungary, and we scored ourselves another one too. Red Bulls are still struggling, and as such, our closest rival do seem to be now the Alfas and Ferraris, and Norris does seem to be the biggest threat. So the regulation changes that we got last time did get voted down, and I do like that. 4 versus 6 against, just barely voted down, but it is a nice result. Now, we do have failure to the rear wing, but most parts are looking good. And look at the powertrain here. I think we might be able to get through this season without buying extra engines, which would be nice. Now, sidepod design has been completed here, and if we take a look, it's not the finalized edition. I'm going to go ahead and get that designed right now with the money that we did make over the last race. But I would like to get a little bit of a buffer here, honestly, just to be on the safe side. So I'm a little bit unsure how we want to kind of play things here. Now, we could go ahead and make this, but we do need engine cooling, I'll be honest. If we want to make sure that we get through this without using extra engines, this is going to be the final side pod. It's going to be a very minor upgrade in terms of speed and cornering, but 5% almost extra engine cooling is going to go a long way. So this will be good as our final side pod design. Now, front wing, rear wing, again, I do want to work a little bit on these two, particularly maybe the rear wing. Get them a little bit more DRS effectiveness going into next year. So I think that is what we will be kind of trying to work on here. We could, of course, well, as you can see, the gains are very minor. So even if we do work on this, we're probably going to need CFD time to really see a huge effect. And again, money is a bit of a concern here at Haas. So what we might do instead is front wing. But that too, if I remember correctly, isn't necessarily something that will give a lot of gain. So I think honestly we're kind of done with development already for these 3 parts: front wing, rear wing, and suspension. We'll be working a little bit more on side pod chassis, but the car is getting to a point where it is somewhat finished. And I think what we're going to start doing here is working on these technical changes because they are for cornering. So getting some research up and running is probably going to be the best thing that we can do for Haas for next year. That is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to try and improve the DRS effectiveness, the top speed, and the cornering ability with a bit of research as the car kind of has reached the peak of what we can do for it. And I would like to have the Haas be a little bit more competitive next year. Unfortunately, we're not going to have any sort of competitiveness really from Hamilton as he's retiring. That's just how it be. But we might get some competitiveness from, well, maybe Alonso. So I would like to have him have a decent car. Because as we're seeing right now, Alfa Romeo is doing decently, Ferrari is doing decently, Alfa Tauri is doing decently. Well, honestly, we only played Alfa Tauri and Alfa Romeo, so those should be the ones that we do kind of care more about. But they're actually still in it with potential of scoring points. And Red Bulls have completely fallen off here. Norris, Russell are now the biggest threats compared to anyone else after the last results in Hungary, which we might take a quick look at, honestly. Let's see, Hungary historic results. Sorry, previous race results. So another 1-2 for us. Hamilton a little bit further behind Alonso. Had another incident of locking up. But Russell, Sainz, Gasly, Norris, both the Ferrari cars, both the Alfa Romeo cars doing fairly well. Perez scoring points for Alfa Tauri. Bottas in there for Mercedes. But once again, Red Bull's just scoring 3 points in that last race weekend. So they're really, really falling off in a big way here. And if we do take a look at let's say the Alfa Romeo car, who seems to be fairly good right now, they're scoring points with a car that really shouldn't. If you have a look at this, 14, 16, 16th, they have one of the worst cars on the grid, and they are making it work. Ferrari has a much better car, cornering-wise, but I think what's the main issue here is that, well, yeah, if you look at low-speed cornering there between the Ferrari and the Alfa Romeo, they're definitely overperforming to some degree. Red Bull, on the other hand, not really looking too good either. 19 medium speed. They are the slowest team in medium and high speed corners. And that is really starting to hurt them, even with Verstappen, even with Leclerc. So they're not having a good time. They are the best team in terms of cooling, probably, but they do suck at cornering, and that's gonna hurt them quite a bit. I'm wondering who's actually the second best team in terms of cornering at this stage, because that would be kind of interesting to have a look at. This is Alfa Tauri. No, even them scoring points with a terrible low speed corner is kind of impressive. Williams, actually mid-table, slow. McLaren, the fastest team on the grid at 22 kph. Remember, we have upgrades in the works that's going to give us 2 more kph, and we're currently half a kph behind. So we're going to be definitively in front there. Aston Martin actually has a good car. They're not performing as well as you'd expect, but you can see why Stroll got third in Canada. But yeah, pretty much going to be a wrap, I think, of this season pretty soon. We have 350 points or thereabouts of advantage. And after Belgium here, that might exceed not 500, 400. So let's head into the next race weekend here before summer break and see how we do. Also, did forget to mention this at the start of this episode, but just to be absolutely clear, we did tune up the difficulty at the start of this episode. We have been dominating to the point where we turned up the difficulty too hard for both development and race difficulty. So hopefully maybe once we switch teams again, we'll be seeing a little bit more competitiveness from the other teams. We'll see though. But that could also be why we are seeing these other teams being a little bit more competitive than you would expect. Cars that might not be up for it, but it's kind of hard to say. Let's jump into Belgium and see if we can, just maybe, have another good race weekend ahead of us. So we've had an incident here in the sprint where Alonso has, crashed out with with another car. So yeah, I think Alonso was actually the culprit here, unfortunately. And he was indeed. He did take out that Alfa Romeo, which is unfortunate. But it did, in fact, happen. And that's going to make Sunday a little bit more interesting here, as there's now a virtual safety car. Gasly and Alonso both out. We'll have to see what it looks like in terms of damage, but I think we might try and buy some new parts for Alonso, provided that we can afford them. 10-second time penalty for him. So he's definitely starting last next for the race itself. Now, quality this time around didn't actually go extremely. It didn't go well. Let's put it like that. We qualified 5th and 6th behind both Alfa Romeos, behind both Ferraris. But this is kind of what you can expect around here. We aren't the fastest team at the moment, but we also didn't have good qualifying runs in Q3. We did better in both Q1 and Q2. That was kind of a negative here, but we'll see what Hamilton can do. I do have hopes for him getting up into first position as he's fighting Russell. Stroll with a bit of a lockup hit himself there. But yeah, by the end of the sprint, I do believe Hamilton is going to get back up into, as I mentioned, top position. So we'll leave him to it, see what he can do. So, unfortunately for us here, we didn't manage to get Norris. So the Ferraris are kind of becoming a bit of a threat, which is welcome. But let's face it, we're so far ahead that they aren't really a threat, but they are a threat now to potentially getting race wins. And that is to be welcome. Now, we did have the incident here with Alonso, and once again, the Red Bulls here just aren't doing well. They're lacking a little bit of cornering, not just a little bit, they're lacking a lot of cornering. That is really, really hurting them. Now, Alonso did get another 5-grid plate penalty here, just purely based on the fact that he, well, had a bit of an incident, and we're actually lacking a chassis at the moment. So we're going to have to use the base chassis here for Alonso, unless we do an emergency No, we actually did have one. Okay. Usually when you're missing something, I got fooled there for a second, because usually when you're missing something, it says you have to, but you can't actually apply it because it's still in the car. I guess because it's during a race weekend, it's already been removed. So, yeah, that makes more sense. It's actually been a very long time since I had to change something between sessions in a race weekend, now that I think about it. But yeah, we did get that sorted. Now, the question here becomes, do we break in a new engine? We will. And unfortunately, we can't actually take any penalty other than ERS. So we'll take that ERS penalty here for Alonso. He is starting at the back of the grid, so there's no reason not to. We can't take an extra gearbox penalty, but that's fine. It's not really a big deal. And what I'm thinking we do here in terms of strategy is going to be pretty straightforward. We start on the soft tire, we run it absolutely into the ground, or rather, I think we'll do it a little bit different. We'll do the medium, run it into the ground, and I might go with a bit of a cheeky strategy here, where we do just a one stopper, as that could pay off for him, or we could try and do something a little bit cheekier, the soft tire, and I think that's going to be slightly better than doing it with a hard tire. Nope, hard tire is going to be a little bit quicker. How about if we do hard tire, full attack, into a soft at the end? Would that be, how would that look in terms of time? It looks like it's going to be actually fairly quick. So we might go ahead and do this. It's going to be, again, quicker than that one. So probably not the best strategy, all things considered. We could use 2 mediums, for instance, maybe instead of the hard. How would that look? That would be even quicker. So yeah, we're going to try and avoid the hard here. Just use 2 mediums, full attack into a soft. And I think we're just going to mirror that same strategy for Hamilton here. That should be fine. So yeah, that is the strategy for today. I think it's going to work out fairly well. Almost half a minute quicker than the base strategy. And I think that should be fine. Now, Hamilton is going to need a new ERS at some point. But I think we have a few races here to get that done. So it's not really a big deal. As you can see here, car performance, we're basically first in everything but top speed. Top speed is kind of important around here. Don't get me wrong, it is Belgium. So It is a bit unfortunate that we're lacking it, but we'll do the best that we can with the situation at hand. Now, I still have hopes, of course, that we can get Alonso back into a podium place. I don't doubt that we'll be able to do that, but it's always it's basically how I'm going to do things for this season at least, where if it is 1-2, no problems, we'll just go ahead and kind of not show it. If I make mistakes, we'll be showing it. If strategies don't pan out, we'll be showing it. And generally just having a look at more of the interesting situations, if you will. Now, Alonso is actually losing out a little bit at the back of the grid because, well, Gasly has soft tires, but Gasly's also one of the quicker cars around here. Remember, he qualified ahead of us. Bottas on all softs, he's the only one, so yeah. We'll try working Alonso forwards, let's see what we can do. We're basically at the first pit window. Alonso's made his way up into 11th place, so he's doing well. Confidence almost at the peak. And I do think that we are going to jump into the pits here. Norris has been able to hold Hamilton off. He's on a soft tire. He has a bit of an advantage on that soft tire. But I think we'll be able to get that advantage back here now that we... well, after these pit stops for sure. 3.7 seconds from Hamilton is kind of slow. It is starting to punish us slow pit times. Alonso's going to have a bit of a gap to the cars in front to kind of work in a little bit of time here. And hopefully after the next set of pit stops here, well, when the rest of the grid starts pitting, we'll be able to jump them just ever so slightly. For Hamilton, clearing Magnussen is going to be a priority, so he can keep on chasing down Norris. But so far it is looking like we might be able to turn this into, hopefully, as I mentioned earlier, a bit of a podium for Alonso. Let's see how this goes. Alonso's doing well. We made it up into 6th place behind Sainz here. Magnussen is currently in the pits, so we'll be jumping him. But we are also getting closer to our final pit stop. And if we take a look here, Russell and Sainz are both on soft tires, and I would expect him to be on these soft tires until the end of the race. Same really for Norris on that medium tire, so I do have hopes for Hamilton catching him. And you can kind of see here just how quick Norris and Hamilton is in, well, comparison to the rest of the order here, as they now have 30 seconds on Alonso. Ocon has crashed, which is a virtual safety car. Let us see exactly what has occurred. Loses it, spins, hits the rear into the back of the car into the wall. It looked to be a fairly soft-ish hit, so probably not too much damage. And well, we could try and take advantage of this. I don't think we will. We would be able to pit slightly quicker, and if we take a quick look here, reports, we'd save 8 seconds. The question is 8 seconds worth pitting 4 laps in advance? And I think that is going to be a yes. Honestly. We haven't really been able to leave Norris behind, which is a bit of a problem. So I think pitting now is going to be okay. And turn him down to standard. Let's see, what exactly kind of changes are we going to have to make if we want to pit now, rather than a little bit later. Turning it up to standard should be okay. Then we have a little bit of tire to fight with at the end. It's about 4 seconds slower. We save 8 seconds on the pit stop. So let's go ahead and take advantage. And I do think I want to get Alonso in as well. But Alonso does have a bit of a problem. He's going to lose some places, but he should be able to sneak out ahead. I made a mistake. I pitted Alonso instead of Hamilton first. He should be able to get out ahead of Paris. Basically, he's going to lose 2 positions here. Will Alonso, which is fine. But yeah, that does suck that I put the wrong car in. I don't know if the virtual safety car is going to be long enough around this track for us to take advantage. And we did actually lose a little bit more there in terms of places. No, we didn't. We actually did sneak out ahead of Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words right now. We did sneak out ahead of Paris. But because I made that mistake and pitted Alonso before Hamilton, because I didn't read, we did end up losing the chance to pit under virtual. So we're going to go ahead here, stick to that same strategy for Hamilton. We're also going to try and get an overtake done on Norris here, push a little bit ahead of him. That would be good. But yeah, let's see what we can do with Hamilton. Alonso should be good right now. And we'll hopefully be able to catch Russell before the end of this. But that is going to be quite a bit of quite a challenge. So maybe 4th place might be all that we can hope for in that case. Hamilton still trying to get a move done here on Norris. Again, we're lacking top speed. That is our main weakness around this track. And kind of like Red Bull at Singapore last year, I think this is our weakest track as a result of that lack in top speed. But we're still going to keep on trying. Hamilton has cleared Norris, and he's actually clearing him by about a second a lap. So Hamilton quite quick here, but we are going to have to pit. But because we have extended as far as we have, we can probably stick to just full-on attack on these soft tires till the end. I think that is probably going to be viable. The question is, can we sneak out ahead of Russell? And the answer to that is just about. So Hamilton here, 10 seconds now, 11 seconds behind Norris, 8 laps. Can we close him down quick enough that we actually do end up with, well, a race win here? Alonso's still doing decently well here. He is stuck a little bit behind Sainz. I don't think that should be a big deal here. Get within DRS, get the overtake done. Sainz is slightly slower than Norris at the moment. So with a little bit of help of the tires, a little bit of help of energy, I do think that we can get the overtake done here. Maybe we need to back off for a second and recharge, but no, Alonso gets it done. 18 seconds up to Russell though is probably a little bit too much to ask in just 5 laps time. But Hamilton here is closing down Norris at incredible pace, 42.7 versus a 45.1. So more than 2 seconds a lap is the current gain, and 1.8 seconds that last one. That means he'll be in attack range very, very shortly. So I think we're just going to allow him here to push and deploy, and we'll see if we can get that overtake on Norris done. He was struggling a little bit on his previous tire set to get it done. Took him a few laps. So we're going to try and launch the attacks here as soon as possible. Although, yeah, rest training inside of him probably is a little bit too much there. Could go ahead also and put the overtake aggression too high here, which I think we will do. Just needs one overtake. I'm willing to take the risk. And look for a second there like he was planning to get it done in the high speed section, which would be scary. Descending on the inside. But yeah. Alonso is also running quite a lot quicker than Russell, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, just doesn't have enough laps to really catch up. Let's see if Hamilton has what it takes to get the overtake done on this lap. Looks like he's going to send it into turn 1. And he does. Question now is, can he remain in front going into that next DRS zone? And so far, looks like he did. So I think with that, first place is settled, unless Hamilton has a bit of a moment. But yeah, bit unfortunate for Alonso, to be fair. But it's a good recovery from last to 4th. If I'd used the soft tires a little bit more efficiently, probably could have ended up a little bit higher. But yeah, I haven't been operating 100% over the course of this episode, unfortunately. Been very, very much a few tiring days of work. Yeah, Hamilton wins. Alonso comes back in 4th place here, 2.5 seconds behind Russell, so it wasn't too far off catching him. And we can kind of see the race pace difference here. We do struggle when we get stuck behind other cars because of our low air sensitivity, but we are still the fastest car by far. You can kind of see it here also in our lap times: 42.5, 41.4, 43.4, 43.3. So I still think this is a good result for us. Now, Ferraris, Alfa Romeos generally do well here. Unfortunately, looks like Gasly only managed to recover to 13th. But the Red Bull seems to be pretty out of it at the moment, and that is kind of concerning. As we have Williams, Alfa Tauris, Alpines in the points. So is looking a bit worrisome here, as Hamilton now has 100 points down to Alonso and 200 points down to Norris. I think he's actually settled the championship. Or, no, he hasn't. 200 points. Well, settled the championship for our team. 200 points is just 8 race wins. We still have that amount of races left plus sprints, so not really settled yet. But you'd need Norris to win basically everything at this point until the end of the season, because let's face it, Hamilton is not finishing outside the points for the remainder of the races, so it's basically already settled. Now Red Bull is still second, but just barely. Ferrari's now just a single point behind. Alfa Romeo's catching up, and Red Bull has really stagnated. They've just fallen completely off, and that is a bit disappointing. Red Bull is kind of the boogeyman of this game, but they're not having a good time this time around, unfortunately for them. Now, underfloor design is complete. If you remember, we want to make another one. And if we take a look at this board review here, they expect us to be 9th. We're first, and we've also beaten the long-term objective of podiums, so we do get a little bit extra money. Failed rear wing is a pretty simple thing to replace, but as you can see, there's medium risk on basically everything, so we're going to end up replacing a lot of these very soon. But what we're going to do now is make that new underfloor after we spend some more CFD time. And this one looks like it's going to be fairly good upgrade. 1.12 kph. And if you remember the chance, it gave us 0.87. So I was 0.01 kph off 2 kph, but we're around there out. We are making up the high speed loss, we're making up the medium speed loss, so yeah, this underfloor is going to be pretty good. And unfortunately, we're not going to have it for Sandboard unless we rush production. Money is a bit of a concern though, still, so I don't think I want to do that. But we could make the new suspensions at this point. What are we? Let's just have a look here. Yeah, we're going to make the new suspensions. We are getting chassis, underfloor, side pods. Let's avoid making those 3. We can make the rest here. So suspensions on the docket. Let's just make 3 of these over the course of summer break. That should be fine. Let us go ahead and make rear wing. We have had one be damaged. Place that one. Front wings, go ahead and make a couple of these. And we're probably also going to maybe make a spare chassis for now. But the new chassis design is going to be done in 10 days. So again, not really a need to do that once we actually do get said chassis available to us. Now, manufacturing wise, rear wing is done. Front wing is also done. We're going to get the project done here, I think. There we are. And we could skip a sponsorship obligation here. What is the sponsor obligation? It doesn't really tell us. Sure, we'll cancel that obligation. Honestly, we could just get denied. He loses morale for 14 days. He's gonna get that back before the next race in Sandboard anyways. So no real reason for us to do anything with that. Yeah, this is the chassis that we're gonna be making, and we only have enough money to make one. So financially, we are struggling a little bit, and we are going to be going to the negatives now, I do believe. Because as you can see, monthly balance is going to take over. So board's going to be a little bit upset with me, but by the time we reach the Dutch Grand Prix, it should be fine. But with that, we're not going to be getting the underfloor done either. We're going to have to wait until after the Dutch Grand Prix, really, to get the manufacturing process started. We're now in debt. Please find our finance data attached below. But we'll continue to lose confidence with you. So yeah, we are in a little bit of problematic situation, but it's fine. No improvements for our drivers, with the exception of Stanek. But our pit crew here does need a little bit of work, so I'll get that sorted. The new underfloor design is completed, but as I mentioned earlier, we are still in debt, and we'll probably be that until we're done with the Dutch GP. So we'll not be able to really do anything with it. We do have that one new chassis at the moment that we could also put on the car. And I think we are going to install it on Hamilton's car, which should be car 2, unless I am mistaken. But yeah, it's car 2. So that should be Okay. Now, in terms of suspensions, we do have the new ones that we could use. And I'm really tempted to start doing that. But at the same time, we do have a little bit of money problem at the moment. So let's stick with the old spec suspension for this race. And once we get a few more, we can go with the new spec for, well, the next race weekend maybe. I am going to say both cars in top 10 here because, again, we are financially in not a great place. We 30k in depth at the moment. We still need to make underfloors, chassis, side pods in the near future. So we're going to need money. Probably should have gone into the gambling, if you will, or the editing of race goals last race, and I said that Alonso's going to come up into, say, top 5. Got a little bit extra money from that. We could have done that. That is another mistake of mine this episode. But let's face it, we are so far ahead that we can allow ourselves to be a little bit complacent. And that is kind of what is happening here, unfortunately. We'll do the Dutch GP, which is probably going to be the last race of today. I have been spending almost 3 days getting this episode put together because we're doing a lot of race weekends. I have had limited time. But yeah, let's jump into Dutch GP here and see if we can end this episode on a high. So the Sanro GP so far has gone fairly well here. As you can see, we are currently on the final stint. We have a massive tire advantage. Well, not super massive, but we do have a tire advantage over virtually everyone else. And we also have a fairly decent gap here down to Show, who's currently running third. It's surprisingly Gasly, Norris, Perez, Russell, Lawson, Sainz, Giovinazzi. So the Red Bulls, again, just haven't had a complete collapse. They're just unable to score points at the moment. Same can kind of be said for the Aston Martins, to be fair. They probably had a bit of a worse collapse. But I do like seeing that Alfa Tauri and Alfa Romeo, the teams that we have played so far, are actually kind of staying decent teams. Ferrari's doing very well. They've kept things going for themselves. So, yeah, it's looking very, very good so far. But we're just going to allow things here to reach their conclusion. I don't think there's going to be anything happening. As you can see, our gap is still increasing. It's now almost 21 seconds. So I'm confident that we will want to get another race. And here we are. Alonso wins. Hamilton second. Show gets himself the podium. And then we have Gasly, Norris, Russell, Perez, Giovinazzi, Sainz, and Lawson. So Giovinazzi had a good finish to the race. Again, we are very, very much dominating here in terms of the points, both in the driver standings and also in the constructors here. But Ferrari has now overtaken the Red Bulls, and probably over the next race weekend here, you can probably see Alfa Romeo, then very soon Alfa Tauri also overtake them. So a little bit worrying. Verstappen and Leclerc are falling down this 5th and 7th at the moment. But yeah, it's kind of worrisome that the Red Bulls are struggling as much as they are. And as you can see, Hamilton, who had that new chassis, did get a little bit punished here by pit stop issues, which probably helped out Alonso a fair bit. So that is why Alonso did win, even though Hamilton did have that new chassis. Stanek improves to 78. And we also get the side pods completed now. So we can get a little bit of manufacturing going. We have a new race, next race in 4 days. And financially, we don't have too much money, 3.3 million. But I think we are going to start and develop basically some of these new parts. The side pods, the underfloor. And I'm a little bit worried right now. Let's just have a quick look here at how much of the cars did fail. So luckily, no failures of the same part, which is actually kind of good for us. So we'll go ahead and replace these. We'll get new underfloors, new side pods made. That should be okay. And I will also start doing, as I mentioned, a little bit of research. But yeah, manufacturing is going to take a while. We'll have one available for Singapore, so we can only pray that we don't have any incidents in Monza. That's going to be a bit of an issue. But yeah, I think we are going to do, as I mentioned here, a little bit of research, allow the AI to keep things going. But we'll wait a little bit longer before we start doing that, because financially we are in a bit of a precarious situation. If we do this, we can't make any more parts. So we'll wait a couple more weeks before we start doing research, because we do need to get more parts going. And a suspension will be done in a single day. But with that said, we are going to end today's episodes here. I would like to do at least a couple more races, but honestly, it has taken me a couple of days to get this one put together because of the fact that, well, it's been tiring after work, and I've had a couple of recording. Basically, I've started recording, made a bunch of silly mistakes, which you'll probably see throughout this episode, or which you have seen rather than you will see. And, well, it didn't really help the motivation, so to speak, because I want to make something that is fun and interesting to watch. But if it's just me fumbling over my words, my actions, and everything, then it becomes probably very boring, very frustrating to watch. So apologies for that. And hopefully I'll be able to sit down this weekend and get something prepared for next week so that it'll be a little bit better. But yeah, that's going to be the goal. There's also going to be something else uploaded fairly soon, some other games, but that'll be kind of a side project. It's basically me just having a little bit of a ride in what I play. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. Let me know what you think about the new way of summarizing, where I basically just kind of show the results, say a few words about how the races went, and generally what the opponents did. Would you like me to keep on doing that rather than what I did in the previous episode, where I kind of went through them one by one as the race went? I'm also going to test out probably another one next episode where we do say 3 races and then I go back and summarize after the 3 races are done with everything. But yeah, it's I don't know what's going to be best. I kind of like the way they did it this episode, but we'll see. Again, thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed, and I do hope to see you next time. Bye bye.